All right. It is 12 o'clock, and I don't think there's anybody watching yet, but write a little thing in the comments if you see me here and you hear me okay. Welcome back to Western Music Zero, week 2. We're going to talk about rhythm and meter. Yay. So, let's get started. I think first we should probably do a little bit of a review. By the way, that first class that dropped frames and was kind of, a little bit on the wonky side with audio, that's going to get re-uploaded as just a separate video because I think the second half of it was not very easy to understand. Anyway, so we're going to cover rhythm and meter today. So it's not going to be a lot, but we'll go back and review some of this stuff as well. All right. So I don't think we need to review the staff, note duration, measures, restoration, dots and ties, steps and accidentals. But let's just to remember, let's go with our measures and time signature first. So, as we remember, the staff is basically 5 lines, and it has a clef that tells you what note is what. So in this case, this is a treble clef, and this little circle right here circles around this second line here, and that's called the G clef, G treble clef. That second line is G. If you go down in lines and spaces, right below here we have a space, that's F. Right above we have A. So we'll go G, F, E is the bottom line, F, G is the second line, A, B is the third line, C, D is the fourth line, E, F is the fifth line. Let's just talk about really quick about meter again. So measures are basically a way to kind of break our musical compositions into bite-sized pieces and organize them. As we know, music is basically organization of sound. So the more organized it is, the more people will kind of respond to it and consider it to be musical. So, how do we decide how large a bar is? We do it with time signatures. And time signatures tell you how many beats and what type of note gets a beat for every bar. You've probably seen this before, 4/4, 3/4. What this top number means is it means there's 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the bottom means it's quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you don't remember exactly how all the notes look, go ahead and review Unit 1 or review the re-upload later that I will do tonight. So the second measure is the same thing, 3 beats, and the quarter note gets a beat. So 3 quarter notes get 1 measure right there. And then we have time signatures that don't have quarters, which are a little less common, but they are still there. So this would be 6 beats, well, 6 notes in this case, and then each one of those gets an eighth note. So it's 6 eighth notes to that bar. This next one, as you can imagine, is 3 half notes. So there's 1, 2, 3 half notes. So that basically covers the 4 time signatures we looked at. Typically 6/8 will get grouped together into beats, and then these are called pulses instead of beats. We'll show you how that works right now. All right, so We also covered steps and accidentals, if you remember that. A half step is the nearest key, and a whole step is two nearest keys. So from here to here, let's see if we can pull out this little piano this week, see if it works. It didn't work last week. So if I play this, let's see if I can do one of these. I think I need to set this back to, or we'll make it happen. All right, let's open this and make sure that we have our input here is right. Well, in any case, it's not going to work this time, I don't think, I guess. Let's see. But anyway, I'll just sing the notes. So, that's a whole step. C, D, C. Then you have C, C sharp, or D flat, C. And that's a half step. That's how Western music is basically broken down into a set of half steps. So that's kind of what we just covered here. So a flat and a sharp will take whatever note is on the page and flatten it. A sharp will take it and sharpen it by a half step. So for example, this black key here between C, D, C, you could call it C sharp because it's C that's raised a half step. So that would be C right there with a sharp on it. So instead of it being this note down here, it's this note up here. You could also call it D flat. So now you see the note before, it was on C and it had a sharp next to it, but it moves up to D, E, G, B, D, and it has a flat on it. So it's a D flat. The same thing can happen even if you don't have black keys. So that E can be written as F. This is F, right? Because this clef is a G clef and it puts G right there on that second line. So the space below that line is F, and you can put a flat on it. So you can call it F flat. You don't see it very often. You can also, vice versa, call F E sharp, even though there's no black key in between it. So all a sharp and a flat does is it just adds a half step to either note. There's also a double flat, which is two half steps, so a whole step. So like a C could be written as a D double flat, and there's a double sharp, where a D could be called a C double sharp. You don't see it very often though. So that's what we were just talking about. So see how this, you got these two arrows. So this is a C, but it has a double sharp, so it actually sounds like it's the D one whole step above C. And then a natural, what it does will automatically revert anything to a white key. Now what that does mean though is that if you have a key signature where one of the notes is a flat and you have a natural on there, it will actually raise it up, because in the key signature it's a black key, it's a flat, and you remove the flat with the natural. In the same way, if there's a sharp in your key signature, F sharp for example, and you put an F with this natural next to it, it will lower it back to the F white key. Makes sense? So let's get to what we were actually going to be doing. we're going to talk about simple and compound meter. So remember, we just talked about how you can kind of divide music into little bite-sized pieces, right? Okay, yum, yum, yum. So now what we're going to do is we can divide it into different types of groups of beats called pulses. So you have something called a duple meter, a triple meter, and a quadruple meter. That basically means just like, would you count it 1, 2, 3, 4? That's quadruple. Would you count it 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3? Then that would be triple. And if you would call it 1, 2, 1, 2, that's a duple meter. There's more than that, but that's most of what you're going to see. So simple means that each of these beats can be broken into 2 notes. So 2, 4. Just as we were talking about before, two beats, and this 4 means the quarter note gets a beat. So you get 2 quarter notes. Look at that. Now, this is a simple meter because you can divide these 2 quarter notes into 2 eighth notes each, right? 1, 2, 2, 2. So now you have also 2, 8, and you have 2, 2. It's the same concept. You can divide each one of these into 2. 2 half notes make 4 quarter notes, 2 eighth notes make 4 16th notes. 3, 4 is also a simple, but it's not a duple meter because it has 3, so it's a triple meter. 3 quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can divide it into 2 pieces, each one of those. So same thing as before, 3, 2, 3 half notes. You can divide it into 2 and make 6 quarter notes. Same thing with 3, 8. You can make 6 16ths. 4, 4, same thing, right? So 4, 4, 4 quarters makes 8 eighth notes. 4, 2, 4 half notes makes 8 quarter notes. 4, 8, 4 eighth notes makes 8 16th notes. Let me know if I'm going too fast here. So, usually a simple meter will have a 2 or a 3 or a 4 as your top number. It makes it, you can also have simple meter with other numbers, but this is mostly what you're going to see in the simple meter category. So you can also have compound meter, which means that each beat is actually a grouping of notes. So 6, 8, just like we were talking about. 6 beats, right? But it's 6 eighth notes. But they don't actually have 2 beats. They're pulses. And you can group into 3. So you have 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, right? Or you can group them into 3 sets of 2. But if you were going to do this, this is basically 3, 4, right? Because you could take this and make this 1 quarter note. It's divisible by 2. Another quarter note divisible by 2. Another quarter note divisible by 2. So you can make that into 3, 4. But this, on the other hand, this has 2 beats of a dotted quarter each. Now remember, a quarter, when you add a dot, it's called an augmentation dot. It adds 50% of the length of the note. So a quarter is 2 eighths. 50% of 2 is 1, so it becomes 3 eighths. So almost always, when you have a 6 on the top, it's a compound duple meter. So now you have 9, 8. This is a compound triple meter because it's 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3. So You see here, you can group these into 3 dotted quarters. So it becomes 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, right? They all get grouped together. This also falls into the same category. Almost anytime you see 9, it's considered a compound triple. You can also use, for example, in a lot of folk music, Greek folk music, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, right? You can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can group that into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 3 groups of 2 and then 1 group of 3. That's called an odd time signature. So it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3. You've probably heard that rhythm before if you're one of our Balkan brethren. So 12/8 is considered compound quadruple. Same thing, divided into 4 dotted quarters. And same thing, almost every time the 12 is going to mean compound quadruple. So 4 beats that are divisible by 3 instead of by 2. And that's that. So now let's look at odd meter. So odd meter basically means that the beats are not all even. So we have 5/8, for example. One of the beats is divided into 2, and one of the beats is divided into 3. So it sounds like this. See that? You can also do it in reverse. You can do that also with 7/8, and that becomes 2 sets of 2 and 1 set of 3. 1 beat with 2 pulses. 2 beats with 2 pulses and 1 beat with 3 pulses. So that's, and again, you can do it in reverse. But it does sound similar because of the fact that it loops. You have to there's more involved ways to actually determine where the first part of the measure is. You'll hear a lot of musicians especially go, well, where's 1? Because they get lost and they don't know which beat is the beginning of the measure. So but you can divide it, again, even to 2 and 3 and 2. That 8/8, I know what you're thinking. It sounds like, oh, well, that's 4/4. Well, but you can also divide it into odd time however you want. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So this, you hear this rhythm all the time. Right? But as you can see, 4/4, it's generally assumed that if you see 4/4, it means you're going to have 4 beats that are divisible into 2/8 notes. Simple quadruple, as we called it. So these last two, 10/8. So you can do it in 3/3/2/2. And 11/8, you can do 3 sets of 3 and a set of 2. Like that. And so that's pretty much all of the rhythm that you'll ever really encounter in almost any type of setting where you're reading music. Like I said, with church music, this is a lot more than what you're going to need to be able to follow along. So we're going to go through and look at key signatures for now. We can look at scales if we have time, but scales it's pretty basic. But basically, key signatures, they let you know how many sharps or flats are in the scale that you're going to use. And basically what I want to show you is how to actually decipher the key and find out where your tonic note is. So like where do is. If you know how to sing your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or si, do, if you're European. Basically all you're going to do is try to find where do is, because then that'll give you a really good frame of reference for how to sight read in a choral setting. So right now we're looking at C minor, which has 3 flats. C minor is the same thing as E flat major, and that's a little bit more involved than I wanted to get, but just remember that every major key has a minor key that is 2 notes down from what it is. So G major, G, F, E, E minor. If you have B major, it's B, A sharp, G sharp minor. If you have E flat major, it's E flat, D, C minor. So this is actually an E flat major, and depending on what you're able to infer from the score, you might not even know if it's in C minor or E flat major. That's just something that comes with experience. But you can read something in C minor and look at it like it's E flat major, and you'll do fine. It doesn't matter. It just will help you kind of really feel the key of the piece if you are understanding whether it's in the relative major or minor. D flat has a lot of flats, doesn't it? Looks like this. Pull out the piano again. D flat major looks like this. Da, da, mi, fa, sol, la, di, do. So it uses all the black keys, if you saw that. D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, D. So it has all 5. And you write it like this. Now, I'm not going to try to get you guys to learn how to write key signatures, because there is a special way of orthography of like how to write them correctly. But I'm going to show you how to decipher them. So here on the lesson, it says B flat is first, and E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and then C flat, and finally F flat. If you're going to do all of the flats, which that becomes C flat major. These guys came up with a cutesy little thing. Battle ends and down goes Charles' father. I don't like to think of it like that. I like to think of it as you go up a fourth every time. B, C, D, E. E, F, G, A. A, B, C, D. D, E, F, G. And they just write it down an octave. See that? We're on G now. G, A, B, C. And then C, D, E, F. Back down an octave again. I like to think of it more like that because it helps you understand some other concepts further down, like the circle of fifths and fourths and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so now let's look at sharp keys. So this is A major. So that's A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. And they wrote it here. So this has an F sharp, a C sharp, and a G sharp. And that's A major. Let's look at E major. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. 4 sharps. And they get arranged like this. F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp. So sharps go the other direction. They go down 4. So F, E, D, C, C, B, A, G. We put the G up here. G, F, E, D. And let's see if they show us the rest. Yeah, so D, C, B, A, G, F, E. So that's E sharp, F natural really. E, D, C, B, B sharp. And this is the key of C sharp major. Now, what this site doesn't tell you, if you've been doing these lessons on your own, there's a couple handy tricks to figuring out your key. So here we are at D flat major. How do we know this is D flat major? Well, the easiest way to tell what your key is in a flat key is to look at the second to last flat, right? So second to last flat is D, so that's D flat. Remember when we went back and we're looking at C minor? C minor is also E flat major, B flat, E flat. Second to last flat is E flat. The only thing you'll notice, so if this had only 2 flats, that would be B flat, E flat, the key would be B flat. The one thing that it doesn't show you is F major, which is 1 flat. So just remember that F major is 1 flat, and then every other flat key, all you do is you look at the second to last flat. Sharp keys are a lot easier. So, sharp keys, the last sharp is the leading tone of the key. So let me try to give you an idea of what that means. So, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. That's your leading tone because it leads back up to the octave, back to do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Leading tone, tonic, right? So, if you know that, then you can basically figure out what any sharp key is by going one diatonic step, one note up from whatever the last sharp is. So let's look at the key with all the sharps. So one note above this B sharp is C sharp, C sharp major. When we're in A major, we have F sharp, E, D, C sharp, B, A, G sharp. So one note above G sharp is A. Now, you're probably kind of thinking, hold the phone, Andrew. Hold the phone. We are merely Western music barbarians. We don't understand all of this. Yeah, I get it. Your next note up, including what the key is. So, this B sharp, the next note up is not C, it's C sharp because we already have a C sharp here. Now let's say we don't have these last 3 sharps. Let's just say we have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp. So what's one note above D sharp? It will be E. And there's no sharp on the key. It's F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp. So the key of 4 sharps is E major. Let's say we just have 1. G sharp, or sorry, F sharp. Let's say we just have the F sharp. What's one note above F sharp? G. So 1 sharp is the key of G. Let's say that we are 6 sharps. F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp. What's one note above E sharp? Well, one line or space above E is obviously F, but we look over here, there's a sharp. So it's F sharp major. And then that's why I said one note above B sharp is C, but we got a sharp here, so it's C sharp major. Now, you can see that they change position because the clef, and if you remember, but bass clef sets this second to top line to be F. So you probably have heard that, every good boy does fine, or as I like to call it, empty garbage before dad flips. And then there's some that are for bass clef, but they're not very good. Good boys do fine always, or Game Boys do fancy. I don't know. I just made that one up. G, B, D, F, A, or E, G, B, D, F. That's a lot to kind of take in, but trust me, the more you read, the more this will kind of just be automatic. And that's key signatures. So let's go back and take a look at scales. So the definition of a scale is basically the collection of notes that are going to form the basis for a musical composition. So first we're going to discuss the major scale. That's the kind of the foundation, the building block of what we're doing here. What's this? Whoa, 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 whoa. So what this is just an easy shorthand to show you the interval in between each note. Whole step, half step, whole step, half step. So this is the tuning of the major scale. A lot of this will not have a lot of relevance if you're doing Byzantine music, because we don't tend to do the major scale in a lot of different keys. We'll do it in C major and in F major, and in very few instances other keys. But that's because we like to try to preserve the ni pa vu ga di ka zo ni to C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, or to do, re, mi. Kind of make it all orthographically the same. That doesn't mean that you have to sing something in plagal fourth in C major. It just is written that way. But you can say, well, my C is this, and make it a D or whatever. So anyway, so let's start with C major scale. So C, whole step up from C, right? Two of your next keys, C, C sharp, D, right? Next one, another whole step, D, D sharp, E, and a half step, E, F, whole step, F, F sharp, G, whole step again, G, G sharp, A, and then A sharp, B makes another whole step, and then finally back to C. So you might have noticed something interesting. The piano is laid out so that C major is all white keys. Pretty interesting, huh? So let's do the same thing, but let's say we're starting with E flat. There's E. You go 1, 2, half steps, makes a whole step, so you get F. F, F sharp, G, makes another whole step. You need a half step, G, A flat. You could call it G sharp, but we don't. And I'll let you know later why. So E flat, F, G, A flat. Now we need a whole step above A flat, so A flat, A, B flat. And then we have B flat, B, C, another whole step up, C, C sharp or D flat, D, makes another whole step, and then E flat. Now you're probably wondering, so why can't we call it G sharp? I like the sound of calling it G sharp. Well, if you look over here, if you write it with flats, the scale moves in such a way that every note of the scale gets its own line or space. What happens if we go E flat, F, G, G sharp? Then this note winds up being down here. And so it doesn't really look like a scale going up and down. That's why. It's called good orthography. And you can thank me now for learning it now, and then thank me again later when you see people writing A flat major chords with G sharps in them. I'm like, what's going on? Anyway, so now you see those 1, 2, 3, 4 flats. Or sorry, 1, 2, 3 flats. And if you want to remember how to write the key signature, remember it starts with B, and then you go up. B, C, D, E, write another flat here. E, F, G, A, bring it down an octave. And then you get the key signature. So now let's do it with a sharp key. So we'll do it with D. So D, whole step up from D is E. Whole step up from E is what? E, F, F sharp. One half step up from F sharp is G, right? Right next to it. G, G sharp A makes another whole step. A sharp B makes another whole step. B, C, C sharp makes another whole step, and then a half step from the leading tone right back up to D. So you're probably wondering why we do this is because in Western music, people use the major scale in a lot of different keys. You know, it can be a different key because it's a female singer or a male singer or whatever. You won't see a lot of this, except for if you're doing a lot of older scores by early Greek American composers. So again, F sharp, C sharp, two sharps, and you go F, E, D, C, you go down. So it's a two sharp scale. So you can build any one. So let's pull out the piano, shall we? So I'm going to pick a note at random. Well, that was E flat. We already did E flat. We did D as well. Okay, so let's do this. This is F sharp. We can call it two different ways. F sharp, up a whole step, F sharp, G, A sharp, F sharp, G sharp, F sharp, G, G sharp, F sharp, G sharp, another whole, right? So another whole from G sharp, 1, 2, A, and then a half step, A sharp, B, right? And then another whole step, 1, 2, C sharp, another whole step. I almost lost everything off my desk. I got too excited playing this piano. Okay, let's move that there. So starting from the top, F sharp, whole step, G sharp, 1, 2, another whole step, A sharp, only need one for the half step, so right there. Do another whole step, 1, 2, C sharp, do another whole step, 1, 2, D sharp, another whole step, 1, 2, E sharp, also known as F, and then a half step, F sharp, E sharp, F sharp. So you get F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp. You could also write this as G flat. G flat, A flat, B flat, but you have C flat because it's C, but it's flat. D flat, E flat, F, G flat. Just like that. And that's how you do scales and keys. Next week, we are going to look at intervals and learning how intervals look and how they sound. So enjoy that. I got ahead of myself here because it looks like we had enough time to cover scales and keys. So we won't cover that. We'll just kind of recap scales and keys. But then we will also do the intervals and then start doing some sight reading. So have fun and stay tuned in about 20 minutes for Biz Music Zero, week 2. We're going to talk about the basic elements of notation, neumes, and all that sort of stuff. That's all for now. Let me know if everything sounded okay, and let's see if we have any comments here. I'll open up for questions if anybody's here. And we'll see here. I'll give it till 12:45 for any questions. Well, all right, that's it for this week. If you have any questions, go ahead and write a little dicka-dicka-doo down in the comments, and we'll get to it next week. Stay tuned for Biz Music Zero coming right up.